Ahoy crew, and welcome back. Today we're going to be making a San Francisco sourdough. This is something that I make quite often in my house. It's a sourdough loaf that really comes together very easily, usually can be made in a couple of hours, and it has a couple of differences that a lot of my sourdough lovers out there may notice, but it's something that I've been making for a long time since I got a cookbook from my culinary school and found a recipe that was very easy to adapt. And so if you'd like to come and make some San Francisco sourdough with me, please come join and we'll do it together.
All right, let's get started. So like I shared, this is a San Francisco sourdough recipe, and it comes from one of the culinary textbooks that I used in school, and it's still one that I come back to all the time. One of the reasons why I enjoy it so much is that it is a same-day sourdough, and we're getting to use my sourdough starter for that familiar flavor, but we're also using yeast to help move the process along much more quickly. So to get started, we're going to get 1/2 of an ounce or 15 grams of active dry yeast, and we're going to sprinkle that over 2 fluid ounces or 60 milliliters of warm water. You're going to want to set that aside until the yeast is dissolved and it's nice and foamy. You'll know when this is. In the bowl of a mixer fitted with a dough hook, we're going to combine 6 ounces or 180 grams of sourdough starter with 6 fluid ounces or 180 milliliters of warm water. And then we're going to add 6 ounces or 180 grams of bread flour, followed by the yeast mixture once it's nice and bubbly. We're going to mix until the dough starts to come together, and then we're going to knead it on medium speed for about 5 minutes. After that first knead, we're going to add 10 ounces or 300 grams of bread flour along with 1 tablespoon of kosher salt, and we're going to continue kneading that for approximately 10 minutes until the dough becomes smooth and elastic, and you'll actually see this happen in your mixer. Once the dough is ready, we're going to transfer it to a lightly greased bowl, and we're going to cover it with a damp cloth and place it somewhere warm to rise until it's doubled in size. That's one of the reasons I've continued making this recipe since culinary school. You still get the process and the flavor of sourdough, but it's designed to be made and baked all in the same day. So once our dough has doubled, we're going to punch it down and we're going to shape it into a nice round loaf. I'm going to place mine onto parchment paper with a little bit of cornmeal underneath, just like the recipe calls for. We're going to cover it again and we're going to let it proof somewhere warm until it's risen about 2.5 times its original size. You're going to want to give it the time it needs here because we want that dough nicely risen before we get it ready for the oven. So once that loaf is finished proofing, we're going to brush the top with 1 beaten egg white. Make sure you get a nice even coating across the surface because this is going to help us get that beautifully browned exterior as the loaf bakes. And now we're almost ready for the oven. We're going to preheat our oven to 450 degrees, and you're going to get a pan with boiling water that we're going to put underneath the rack that your bread is going to be going on. The water is going to create steam during this first part of our bake, but before it goes in the oven, use a sharp bread knife or a lame to score the top. This gives the expanding dough somewhere to open up as it bakes, and it gives us that classic finished look. Now bake at 450 degrees for about 10 minutes with a pan of boiling water underneath, and after 10 minutes reduce the temperature to 375 degrees and remove that pan of water, but continue baking for about 35 to 45 minutes until the loaf is nicely browned. And here it is. We got a beautifully browned loaf all the way around, and it's exactly what I'm looking for when I make this recipe. And let's see what we got inside. We got a nice crust on the outside and a soft crumb on the inside, and this is why this recipe has stuck with me since culinary school. It's approachable, dependable, and it gives you a really good loaf without turning sourdough into a multi-day project. Now I'm going to cut a slice and get it toasted for myself. You could serve this alongside dinner, use it for sandwiches, or just toast it up like I'm doing here. And if you want to try this sourdough but don't want to commit to a long fermentation, this is a really approachable recipe to start with. I'm going to keep this one simple with some butter and some raspberry jam. And this right here might be one of my favorite ways to enjoy a fresh loaf of bread. If you enjoy seeing recipes from my old cookbooks, culinary school, and some of my recipes I've kept making over the years, let me know what you'd like to see next. Now how about you give it a try, drop a follow, and come cook with me, and I'll see you in the kitchen. Thanks for joining.